finally here. Yes, today is the day. The debut episode, the pilot episode of the Big Meer podcast. And finally, right? I mean, damn, it's about time. I mean, I've been building this thing up for so long. The main question about the podcast since the whole build up started is when is it going to come out? Because I never dropped an official date. I don't like to pigeonhole myself into dates. And then when it don't come out on the date it was supposed to, I look like an asshole. I don't want to be that guy. So I just said between the months of November and January, this thing would be dropping. I took my time with it because I wanted it to be the best it could possibly be. And I feel I've achieved that, but now it's time to present it to you, the public. And we'll get your thoughts on it, obviously. We'll get a lot of feedback on this. There's been a lot of build up. So we're starting off with a bang today with my first guest, Von Ellis. New York up-and-coming rapper, very talented guy. We got his whole story coming up. You do not want to miss that. And after that, we're going to talk about the end of 2016, the Ronda Rousey versus Amanda Nunes fight. And after that, we're going to drop into this year, 2017, talking about a bunch of ridiculousness that has already happened. But before I get into that, I just want to say something about the build-up to this podcast. So I had to do research on myself, knowing that sounds very conceited of me. So I traced back on my Facebook account to where I first made the announcement. Now, I've always wanted to do a podcast, just never had the time, never had enough, passion to really go for it. But once the radio deal ended in Chicago, and I really didn't have time to pull that one off to get there every Monday at 4:00 or whatever to do that show, I really started putting emphasis on really going after this podcast gimmick. So I traced back on my Facebook, and the first announcement for this show was dropped on April 23rd, 2016. So I put it in this day calculator, and the results say that I've been building this show up for the past 255 days. That's 8 months, 11 days, 22 million seconds, 367, 200 minutes, and 6,120 hours, 36 weeks. So this has been a while, and I put a lot of work into it, and I just want to thank all the guys who helped me on this, all of my guests, everybody who sponsors will be coming a little later on, but to all the sponsors, to all the people that's helping me, and especially to the guys who gave me their time and let me interview them to make this show as great as it's going to be. So enough about me. Let's get into my guy, Von Ellis. Interview starts right now. All right, welcome everybody to the interview segment of the podcast. Today we got a very special guest. I mean, the man of 1,000 monikers. Some people call him Big Hollywood. Some people call him Alpo. This guy is one of the most underrated rappers in the game today. Definitely the future. On his way up. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Von Ellis.
Hey. What's going on, everybody?
What's up, Von? How you doing? That's always first.
I'm doing excellent, I'm in the best time of my life, man. Can't lie. I love it. I love life right now.
And that's a great thing to hear. And we'll definitely get into why you so positive nowadays. But first, we got to start from the top.
Uh-oh.
Born in New York. Tell us about that. How was it growing up in New York?
I was born June 9th in Harlem Hospital. I'm from Harlem. If you don't know us, one section of Manhattan. And I've been, it was a great time. I went to a public school. It was of course, I've lived in the hood, so it was a hood school, bullies, getting bullied, the whole nine. Everybody, if you come from the slums, the ghettos, you know what I'm talking about when it comes to a private school, a public school. But luckily, a couple years later, my mom, she got a better job, and thank God she did. And she moved me to private school. For those who's familiar with New York, St. Mark's Catholic school. I went to a Catholic school, and it was that's when things was getting good. You know what I'm saying? Back in the day, I was basically a nerd. You know, I had good grades. I was a shy kid. I didn't really have many friends. I was just into myself. You know what I'm saying? Watching wrestling. I was playing video games. Just kind of a loner, but I had a couple friends. But in St. Mark's, that's when I really started to get more friends because everybody was like me. Everybody had good grades. Everybody wanted to play video games and watch wrestling and watch cartoons and shit. So basically, it was a great time in Catholic school. And then the big move happened to Pennsylvania. Yeah.
Okay, in Pennsylvania. So, how old were you when you moved to Pennsylvania? That's first.
I was 11. Yeah, I was 11, yeah.
Okay, 11, that's a tender age because you think about it, okay, you're 11 years old, you already getting to that stage where you meeting friends, you got friends, you hanging out and stuff like that. So tell us how you felt almost being forced to move away from what you was comfortable with.
Oh, it sucked. It sucked because I was finally getting the groove of things. I was finally breaking out my shell. I was finally not being shy. Like, I'm not really a naturally shy person. Like, I'm only shy around people I don't know. So, I broke out of that shell and I was finally meeting new people. I was even, of course, we young, so I had crushes on girls and whatnot. So that's when, girls was playing a little part. But that's when I finally was finding myself. And then the move happened. But I understand why the move happened, you know what I'm saying? Because things were getting rough, you be sleeping, you got school in the morning, then 2 in the morning you hear gunshots. You know what I'm saying? There'll be times where you're hanging out with your friends, it's 7 at night, and then, the dude on the block says, take your ass back inside because some shit about to pop off. So it's like, I could see why the move happened. Like, my mom took my brother, my grandmother, my aunt, my cousins, like basically the whole family moved to PA. We had our own house, like me, my mom, my brother and shit. And then my aunt, my cousin, and my grandmother had their own house. But we was neighbors though. So it was basically we stuck together the whole time. But it was a crazy move because we went from the city, New York City, you know what I'm saying? You can't sleep, honking horns, people cursing, gunshots, to the wilderness, literally the wilderness, woods, no stores, not even sidewalks, no corner stores, no nothing. So it was a hell of an adjustment.
Man, that sounds crazy. So, like, to backtrack a little bit, when you moved, what year was this? Because is New York like that now?
New York, as in like the gunshots and all that.
Yeah.
Things have changed. I mean, you go to Harlem right now, you ain't really gonna find much. Like a lot of the hood, the ghetto aspects moved to the Bronx. So a lot of Harlem right now is kind of cleaned up. Of course, you're gonna have your little hood spots. Nowhere is paradise. You know what I'm saying? So you're gonna find some shit popping off. But for the most part, everything's cleaned up. It's not really what it used to be. Everything's in the Bronx now.
Okay. Now, we get into PA. So, was it like going back to the drawing board for you, or was this you breaking out of your shell, was it a little more easier for you to adjust in PA when it comes to like making friends or whatever the case may be?
It literally went right back to the drawing board. Like, as soon as I came in, it was very awkward. I don't want to bring race into this, but I was literally the only black person in the whole school. So it was very, very, and of course, I like wrestling and movies and whatnot. So I wasn't uncomfortable being around people outside my race because Stone Cold Steve Austin was my idol, and he's a white guy. So it doesn't really, and I like certain things. So race didn't matter to me, but it was just.
It's still uncomfortable nonetheless.
Exactly. Very uncomfortable. People staring at me. My first day of school, I never forget, I remember this shit vividly. My first day, like everyone was tapping their friends, looking at me. It was the winter time, so I had a hat on, I had a big ass coat on. I never forget a girl saying, "He looks like a girl." Like, so it was very weird. Like, people were just assholes the first day. I'm like, damn.
Okay. So, we all know you're a rapper and stuff like that, and we'll definitely get into that a little later on. But was it anything else you wanted to be as a kid?
That's a good question because I was talking to my mom about this. As a kid, I really didn't have any. I really didn't know. Like, I didn't really have any aspirations to do anything. Like, of course, you know, kids say, "Oh, I want to be a cop. I want to be a fireman." Like, I was never that guy. Like the things I was so into my own world. Like, I was so into like, I was a TV head. I would just watch TV all day. You know, so the most I wanted to do was like be a voice character for a cartoon. That's like the most I would want to do. But everything else, I really had no. I don't know. I didn't really think like that as a kid. I didn't think like that until I was starting to be an adolescent.
Okay, and when you became an adolescent, was it rapping for you, and that was it?
At first, it was I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but I wanted to do something musically. Like, definitely, my father played a huge role. Of course, he doesn't. I don't live with him, but he was always in my life. When I was in Harlem, he lived in the Bronx. So if people know the New York geography, the Bronx in New York, that's a 10 minute, 15 minute, 20 minute at most drive. So he was right there, and he was a music head, man. Like, literally, even to this day, like any CD, like from the '70s, '80s, '90s, he has, you know. And you know, on his side, you know, my grandmother, on my father's side, my grandmother and my other family lived in Georgia. So we used to drive from New York to Georgia every summer, and he would just play this music the
And
whole time driving.
you give us some name drops. What you grow up listening to? What the folks had you
Oh,
listening
of
to?
course. Oh well, my father's side, he was a rap head. He was a '70s head too. So he liked '70s, like, you know, Marvin Gaye, Curtis Mayfield, Isaac Hayes, a lot of the '70s guys, Al Green, Barry White. '80s, Rick James, Michael Jackson, Prince, Billy Ocean, The Temptations, of course, and of course the '90s. He was a hip hop head. So LL Cool J was his idol. He liked LL Cool J. Just literally any rapper you could think of from the '90s. N.W.A., Dr. Dre, Snoop, Cube, Pop, Big, Big Pun, literally anybody you name it. Like, shit,
So he listened to just about
fucking,
everybody.
yeah, he listened, yeah, basically. Even like fucking Ray Charles, like, it was everything.
Okay, so obviously, what you said, your father just listening to everything, and of course that puts an influence on you. Much like my mother listening to her music, she like it was a phase where like she was just straight into rock. She always liked rock, but like it was that time where rap got really bad, and so we just listened to rock. So that's what I had grew up on,
I don't blame you.
and and that played a big part in my life and my influence on music. So obviously, this played an influence on your music, and so to get into the music portion of the interview, have you ever produced anybody else's music?
No, I mean, no. For when I was trying to get into music, I wanted to be a DJ at first. Like, I forgot to add my mom too. My mom's a music head too, but she was more of R&B, like straight R&B. Like, you know, the only rap she listened to was like mainstream rap. Like, she wasn't really a rap head, but every Sunday morning she's cleaning the house, she's bumping some Tony Braxton, some Janet Jackson, some Whitney Houston. You know, some '90s New Jack Swing R&B. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So basically, as I got older and my dad put me onto the chronic that changed my life. I wanted to be a DJ. Anything related to music, so I wanted to be a DJ. My mom she bought me some turntables for my birthday. I still got them to this day. I was, what, 13, 14? I got a couple of vinyl. I got Doggy Style, Snoop Dogg on vinyl. I got the Chronic on vinyl, the Chronic 2001 on vinyl. 50 Cent, what was it? Hustler's Ambition. I had the instrumental, the acapella, a couple other vinyls too. So I was trying to make my way with that, but you know, it's hard to really know what you're doing when you don't really have nobody to really give you any, like, you know, like game. Like, no one I knew had equipment. Of course, I was living in PA. You know what I'm saying? You go outside, you're gonna see woods and and raccoons and bears and shit. So you're not really I don't know anybody who was into the music like I was. So I kind of faded away from the DJ thing because I didn't really know what to do with it, how to take it to the next level. Like I don't know, like no one I knew was into music like I was. So I kind of went to the producing. Of course, equipment is crazy expensive. So one Christmas, my mom gave me like a CD-ROM where you could just it was like Fruity Loops, but like a watered down version, and I made a couple beats, but it was nothing crazy. Like I tried my best. I mean, they were pretty good. They were pretty good. But as far as giving it to somebody else, no, because I don't know anybody who was doing it the way I was doing it.
Right. And to backtrack and get into the influence, you quickly you said the Chronic by Dr. Dre changed your life. How?
Basically, growing up, like it sounds crazy, but like living in New York, everything's anti West Coast. Everything's anti.
Oh, I'm
You know what I'm
sure.
saying?
I'm sure.
Like exactly. Like growing up, man. Like growing up, like even I was a young guy. I was like 4 or 5 years old. But I remember vividly. You know what I'm saying? My mom and my uncle was going crazy over Biggie, and like all I heard was like Biggie and like orange, like Mary J. Blige, and like just straight bad boy East Coast Uptown Records, Jodeci, New Jack Swing, Harlem. You know what I'm saying? I saw like if people know what Uptown Records is, Heavy D, Jodeci, Guy, Father MC, New Jack Swing, a lot of the East Coast shit. Like there was really no out like my family, my mom. The only person that people like in the East was Snoop. 'Cause I guess he was more mellow and chill, but other than that, anti Tupac. I didn't know anything about Tupac, but my dad was into that. So when we driving from New York to Georgia, that's like what 16 hours, but he's a slow ass driver, so that's 24 hours. So I listened to a lot of West Coast shit, but the one that drew me was the Chronic because it was West Coast. It was gangster shit, but it was smooth at the same time. Like it wasn't like Ice Cube where he's a rah rah and I'll shoot you da da. Same with Tupac. In the beginning, he was a lot rah rah, but Dr. Dre and Snoop they were more chill. And this is music I never heard of. It was just cool. It was like, and plus San Andreas was out, and like I just wanted to be in Cali so bad, and of course I love Friday and the Chronic and San Andreas was out, GTA. So I was in the West Coast mode, and plus the Game came out. When he came out, he was even more West Coast heavy. So I just wanted to be a West Coast guy, and like the Chronic really changed me, and it really made me want to be a producer like Dr. Dre.
Oh, okay. Okay, and that make a lot of sense because when I listen to your music, I told you the first time you sent me one of your mixtapes, and I was just kind of browsing around, and I told you because you asked for feedback. I said you remind me of Snoop.
Yeah, a lot of people say that. A lot of people say that.
So I can
That's funny in high school.
go ahead.
Yeah, it's funny. I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's funny in high school. I don't want to back. I don't want to like fast forward, but just a quick story. Like back in high school, like I used to wear a lot of flannels and plaid and button ups and whatnot. So and of course, I was a tall, skinny guy. I still am. So they, of course, they called me Snoop. Just for the fact that, and plus Snoop, I love Snoop. He's literally my second favorite rapper of all time. So
Behind
it
who?
makes sense.
Behind Dr. Dre?
No, my first is Biggie, but
Oh, okay.
and Biggie, Snoop, and Pac. Yep.
Okay. Now let's get into it, man. Take us through the process of writing your first song.
Writing my first song. Honestly, in the middle of DJing, I was trying my hand in rapping, but it wasn't. All I did was write. I didn't record nothing. Like, of course, and it was terrible. Like, this is around the Massacre came out. This was like '05. So,
Okay.
this is when the Massacre came out. I was like, and plus 50 Cent was a huge influence. Like, huge. Like, everybody I know loved him. My mom loved him. My dad loved him. Everybody around me was listening to 50 Cent. So when his album came out, I was like, you know what, I completely bit that, and like, I just made my own album. I wrote it. I wrote literally a whole notebook full of rhymes, but I never recorded it. It was just writing. Was it bad? You damn right, it was terrible. But it was terrible, but I tried. But
Well,
I kind of just
nobody is perfect at first.
yeah, yeah. It was terrible. Yeah, I was like what 13, 14. It was terrible.
Right. So, recording your first song, tell me, were you nervous about it? How was the anxiety of that? Like, how do you pick out all the songs you wrote and then say, okay, this one is record ready?
It's funny because this happened later. Like even after I was making beats, I wouldn't say I went away from the music, but I was just living life. Like I was at high school by this time. I was getting a lot more social, a lot more quote unquote ethnic people started moving in PA. Like a lot more Spanish, a lot more black. So it was a lot more mixed, races in PA. And so I kind of found who I was, and I was just doing my own thing, like hanging out. I started getting into drinking a little bit, nothing crazy. Just partying, playing basketball. Like I just started having a social life. So I kind of went away from it, but I kind of went back because one of my friends, this when MySpace was out, and like he was just basically dissing people from high school. That's all it was. We just playful disses to people in high school, and he was asking if I went in on it, and I was like, whatever. So I went to his house and he was doing it. I'm like, yo, this looks fun as hell. And like he was getting a buzz. People in high school were talking about it, and no one took it serious. No one wanted to fight him, but it was like just laughs. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try it. So I don't remember vividly what my first song was, but I know it was a diss to somebody, and it was a diss to a friend of mine. It wasn't a serious diss, so I dissed him, and I put it on. I never forget, it was in the Patiently Waiting beat, 50 Cent Eminem. We put it on MySpace, and it wasn't that bad. People talked about it. It got a little buzz. Everybody was laughing about it. So that's probably my first encounter, and I wasn't really nervous because I was with my friends and they sucked too. So we all sucked together. And, we went to my friend's little makeshift studio. It wasn't really a studio. He had like Audacity. People don't know what Audacity is. It's like the most basic recording program you could possibly have. It's free. It's basic as fuck. And he had his own like little computer mic, and we just used that. No mixing, no nothing. We just, put it on MySpace, called it a day.
Yeah, that's basically the exact same thing my older cousin used to do. He a rapper now, and basically they would just download instrumentals or whatever song was hot at the time and just
Exactly.
record over them. Yeah, and I think he was using either Audacity or LimeWire, which is also very cheap.
Yeah, yeah. It
So
was rough times. Came a long way.
yeah, so let's get into when you first started taking it a little more seriously. When did you feel like, okay, I want to make something and I want to make people feel like inspirational, or I want people to feel what I'm saying?
Basically, we were dissing the people, we were dissing more people and dissing girls and whatnot. It was just stupid. But then after a while, I'll go home and I'll just write, like not really like taking it, not really thinking like, wow, I can really do something with this. But it was just like I kind of strayed away from the diss, and I'm like, I'd rather just make regular music. So I kind of did that, and uh, a couple of my other friends were taking it a little more serious too, and we made a little group. It was called the 570 Fam. It was different nicknames. 570 Mafia. That's the area code we lived in. 570. 570 Mafia. 570 Fam. 570 Army. It was just a random just nickname we had. So we basically took it to the next level. And basically, we started taking it more serious. Of course, we still wasn't good, but I started to more serious and record more. And I was getting a little respect for it. Of course, I wasn't the best, but a lot of people was starting to see the grind because we were on MySpace. We would just upload song after song after song after, like, on a weekly basis. So we had to delete some songs we had on there to add more songs. So we definitely were putting the work in, and basically after I graduated from high school, I'm like literally 2 days after I moved from high school, I moved right back to New York, like 2 days after graduation. Moved right back to New York. Packed everything. Sold my dog. Everything. Packed everything up. Moved to New York quickly. Cause like things were getting rough. My mom was getting stressed out.
So
She
at
was
this
holding.
time, wait. So at this time, PA got rough.
Yeah. It wasn't like gang violence, but drugs started to really slowly play a part. Like there were times where I could have sold pills. A lot of my peers were pill heads, and people were offering me pills, and I'm in the bathroom, people giving me something like, hey man, take this. What I'm saying? Tell me how you feel tomorrow. I didn't take it. I wasn't really into that. Of course, I smoke my weed. I drink my liquor sometimes. Only when I'm around people. I'm not really a drinker, but drugs really start to slowly play a part in PA. But my mom was getting stressed out. She was holding down the whole house by herself. By that time, my grandmother and my aunts, our neighbors, they moved away. That's another situation with drugs with them. So how family is, and demons, people do drugs and whatnot. And shit happens. So it was kind of hard for her holding the fort down, dolo. So my uncle, the building I live in now in New York, my uncle lives in there. So he kind of like helped us get in here. So we moved back in here, moved back to the city, and yeah, PA was definitely, it was getting. I mean, my friends were still there. It wasn't a bad experience, but drugs were definitely slowly taking a toll
And so
on the
she
community.
she kind of moved. Did you move out a little bit early before it was like a full blown takeover? Like, did she see it beforehand and get you out of that kind of early?
Yeah, I mean, she's seen it, but it wasn't really like me. It was more of her. Like she was stressed out. She worked in the city, so she had to wake up 3 in the morning, drive to the bus stop, get on the bus for an hour and a half, 2 hours, depending on traffic, then walk to work. You know what I'm saying? Do her 8 hours, then do the same thing. Go on the bus, drive 2 hours, get in the car, drive back home. And this was going on for we was up there for 7 years. So she was doing this for 7 years straight, every single day, commuting from New York to PA. So it was definitely taking a toll on her. She was definitely getting stressed out. And, you could just sense the end was coming because little things like she had us doing yard work, mowing the lawn and shit. After a while, she didn't even care. Like, the yard looked terrible after a while. She just didn't care. Like, it was rough. She didn't even care about my grades anymore. Like I was never a guy who failed classes. I always had solid grades, but she didn't even care at this point. So it was more of her, if anything.
Right, and you can't blame her though, right?
I can't.
At all.
Looking back at it now, I thank God it happened because of course it happened pretty soon. It happened pretty quick. So a lot of my friends were still there. It was very tough.
Okay. So to get back into the music, you and your group started taking it more seriously. Now it's a little mixtape or album, I guess you could call it, called Troublesome 21. Now tell us about that real quick.
Oh man, this is a huge leap. This is like I moved back to New York in 2010, and I did that in 2014. So I was a big. I did a couple projects before that one. Of course, I was learning. I was still finding my sound, finding who I was. So they weren't actually quote unquote good, but they were. I was finding my sound. But Troublesome 21, that's probably my biggest accomplishment over even graduating from school because I really had to work hard for it. Like I had to find a job, and I basically took things to the next level, took things by my hands and said, look, obviously the music industry is changing. Obviously, you can't, send your demo to a label and then just pray you're on. Like you got to do things on your own, and I need money. So I had to, I always had money, but I never like worked for the money. So I applied at various jobs, and I found a job, got a job at ShopRite, the grocery store, and basically just worked my ass off. Like I just busted my ass. I paid for every beat I had. By this time, I was done making beats. I grew impatient with it. It was kind of difficult for me. I'd rather I'd rather tell someone to do it, and then I can just create what I can do with it. So I kind of lost patience with it, and yeah, I was buying beats and like had to find studios. A lot of hit and misses, man. The first studio I went to in the city, it was terrible. It was a terrible experience, wasted my money. Then I had to find another studio. I had to find engineers, all on my own, through the internet. So it took it took a while. It took damn near a year to get that whole project done because I was doing everything on my own. Of course, jobs, like cutting hours and politics and ass kissing. So sometimes I wasn't getting the money I deserved. So it was very difficult. But I got it done. It was a hell of an accomplishment, and people don't know it was a concept album as well. So I had to really put thought into every little thing I said on that project. So that's why I got it tatted on me because it's a huge accomplishment to me. Of course, I didn't get no buzz out of it. I didn't become a star, but it's something I really worked hard for by myself with no help.
Right, because back when I used to talk to you about your music, Troublesome 21, when you talked about that, it really seemed like this was your baby.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It really is. It still is. It still is. It still is. Like, it means so much to me. Like people say, graduating college, graduating high school was I mean, I was never the smart guy, but school never really challenged me. I never had a struggle with school. I graduated with ease. It was never an issue to me. This was my first, rodeo doing things by myself. I didn't like my mom didn't lend a penny to me. Nobody lended a penny to me. Uh, I worked everything that you hear was all on me. So it's definitely my baby. Definitely, it holds a special place in my heart, just for the fact that you know it helped me be who I am. It helped me work hard, like actually grab things by the throat and like I had to do it. There's no like depending on other people. I had to literally get up and do it myself, with
Right.
no help. So it was definitely it was tough times, man. Sometimes I felt like crying, like damn, man, like what the fuck, like times where I thought I'd be fired from my job, and it was rough. It was a rough year. It was definitely a rough year, and some of my best friends kind of I won't say betrayed me, but I started looking at them differently. It was definitely a learning experience during that time.
All right, and this was kind of your first experience, not only as a musician but becoming a man, doing things by yourself.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. And my first time actually going out, like, and doing it. Before that, I was recording at home. This is my first time ever going to a studio, a real studio. First time ever getting something engineered. First time ever buying my own beats. I used to steal my own beats. I used to steal beats. This time I'm actually buying it. This time I'm actually paying for studio time. So it was definitely a learning experience, and that's when I definitely became a man. That's what definitely found who I was as a person. You know, it definitely was a huge. I needed it. I needed it.
Okay, and that's Troublesome 21. Now, after that, how did it get any easier for you making music after all that?
It definitely got easier. It definitely got easier. I finally found like, if I mean, some of those projects are gone, but like there's a few projects I did a few years ago before Troublesome 21, and I didn't really have a flow. I didn't really know who I was as a person. Like as I was getting older, Wiz Khalifa was definitely a huge inspiration. Like huge inspiration. I was Taylor ganged out, but I tried to rap like him, and it just wasn't working. I didn't have my own sound. I didn't have my own flow. And then even when Troublesome 21, I finally found who I was, and like I was finally getting the flow and more charismatic on the mic. But at the same time, I still didn't find who I really was as far as the image, how I want to dress, nicknames, the overall character of being a talent. Like you can be a rapper, but you got to bring the package. You got to bring a look, a certain theme with you, and even then I didn't have it. Like I didn't really know who I was as a person. Like I mean, as a rap artist. You asked me more than the music. So the music was good, but the imaging wasn't there. You know, I didn't really have the thought of being a character, quote unquote. But
Right.
music, making the music was easy, but you know, it definitely got easier. But I had to learn about character and like who I want the people to see me as. You know.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like that's a big part people, especially nowadays, miss about not only just the rap game, but rock or R&B or whatever genre you into. You have to have an image. You can't just have
Exactly.
we was just talking about this last night. You can't just have bars, 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 bars. You got to have the
No.
whole package.
Yeah. Exactly. And like look at even rock, like you said, like Slash, if he didn't have the what's his name, right? Slash? Yeah.
Yeah,
If he didn't have
Slash.
if he didn't have the top hat and like the leather vest and the piercing, like he's probably the coolest rock star of all time in my eyes. Like he's cool as fuck. Like he just looks cool as fuck. And he's nice as fuck. So it's like you could be talented, but if you don't look the part, no one's gonna care. And he looks the part. And like
Right.
he stands out, you know?
Right, exactly. That's the perfect example. Now, I want to get into real quick performances. Have you ever done live shows before?
Yeah, I've done one. It was my mom. She was a coworker, but she left my mom's job to like pursue her goals to being a musician as well. So she kind of linked back up with her, and we linked up, and she was like, "Yeah, you know, I do little performances. It's like, but her lane was, I mean, it was a very different crowd. It was a very different atmosphere as to what my demographic is. So basically, and the people she surround herself with are like Erica Badu-ish, Maxwell, Neo Soul, D'Angelo type, Angie Stone type,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
a lot of spoken word poetry type, so it didn't really fit who I am. I'm rapping about what I do and what I see. I'm rapping about girls and smoking and I'm just rapping about things I see in the youth and like the people I see in my demographic. So it didn't really mix well, but I'm not gonna lie. Compared to everybody else, I think I destroyed it. I killed it because after my set, you got people running up to me and asking me questions and hitting me up and wanting my number and whatnot. So that was definitely a confidence booster. But it was a good show. I had a great time, but that's not the demographic I want. So it was cool, but it wasn't the
It
right
wasn't for you. Yeah, it was the wrong
atmosphere. Yeah.
demographic. Yeah.
And plus, they ain't allowed cursing. Like I grew up around cursing, man. Like my mom, my grandmother. I heard every name in the book. I grew up. That's why I have the mouth of a pirate right now. Like I grew up with it. So it's kind of hard for me not to curse. That's all I do is curse. I don't give a fuck. Just I grew up with it. It is what it is, and it's kind of hard to hold that back. And I tried. But it was needed, But I was, I wasn't nervous. It's like a new person came out of me. It's pretty cool.
All right, Vaughn. Real quick, buddy, to wrap up the interview, thank you, man. But to wrap it up, can you please give us some words of wisdom, everything you've been through? How can we all get better? How can we all be like Alpo?
Basically, you're gonna go through things. You're gonna be inspired by other things. You're gonna take some things, but at the end of the day, you were born on that day for a reason. You have that name for a reason. You look this way for a reason. You can be skinny as fuck. You can be short as fuck. You can be tall as fuck. You can be fat as fuck. At the end of the day, you're you, and no one can tell you you're not you. You're you no matter what. So the only thing you can do in this world, on this planet, is be you. And you just find something you're great at and just apply yourself.
I completely agree. Let's get the plugs out the way, Vaughn. Anything you got to plug, let the people know.
Oh yeah, my new project's out, Paul. You know what I'm saying? That's definitely a heater right there. I'm pretty sure people will love it. It's already out. People are already loving it. Basically, that project is basically Troubles from 21, but amped up. I finally found the character. What I'm saying? In the beginning, all these nicknames you named. I finally found a character. Finally found who I want to be to the public. Imaging. What I'm saying? Nicknames and whatnot. So I'll post definitely a good look. Check that out. I'm pretty sure you will like it. Follow me on Twitter at Von Ellis RMF or at Vonnie Quest. Either or, it really don't matter. Follow me both. Do me a favor, follow both accounts. You know what I'm saying? I follow you back. I have no ego. So yeah, basically that's what it is. Apropos.
All right, thanks again, Vaughn, man. Great story, and I'll definitely be talking to you soon.
Oh yeah. Thank you.
All right, great interview with Von Ellis. I'm pretty sure my guy will be back. Make sure to check out Alpo on SoundCloud. Make sure to follow him on everything. He already plugged his social medias in the interview. But now to get to the tail end of the show, I really want to put emphasis on how done Ronda Rousey is. I mean, we think of Ronda Rousey. I mean, this girl is the closest to Mike Tyson we've seen since Mike Tyson. And that's just 100% honesty. This girl will come in there about 45 seconds later, submission. 45 seconds later, knockout. This girl was on top of the fight world. The biggest draw UFC has ever had, period. I mean, arguably, she's the most popular UFC fighter of all time. More popular than Anderson Silva, Chuck Liddell, Rampage Jackson, John Jones, Brock Lesnar, all of these guys. Conor McGregor, she is more popular than them. So she lost to Holly Holm, and originally when she lost to Holly Holm, I was like, it's UFC, it's MMA, and it's inevitable to not lose in MMA. It's different from boxing. With all due respect to boxers, I do appreciate what they do, and it's really hard to break into boxing. But in boxing, the big difference is you only got to learn how to defend yourself from one technique, which is boxing. In MMA and UFC, you have to learn how to defend yourself from every martial art there is, from boxing to wrestling, Muay Thai, Judo, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You have to learn how to defend yourself against everything. And Ronda Rousey came back, and by the way, the build up to this fight between Nunes and Ronda Rousey was absolutely atrocious because they put all the emphasis into Ronda Rousey. It was like Amanda Nunes didn't exist at all, especially when it came to the promotion. And I'm glad Joe Rogan asked that question at the end of the fight. And of course, Amanda Nunes played it like, she didn't care. She wanted to feel like the underdog, whatever. I would have been pissed personally because I am the world champion and I'm not getting promoted. Promote me. I want to make money for this company. I want to bring my stock to the next level. So I felt like Amanda Nunes should have been way more pissed off than that. I know she was happy she just got the KO victory in very impressive fashion, but whatever. Anyways, so I was telling people because people are like, oh, why didn't Ronda defend herself during the fight? You know why? Because Ronda doesn't know how to defend herself. And the main reason because Ronda, her whole MMA career has never had to defend herself at all. I mean, she was beating girls quick, fast, in a hurry, easy money. She was always the aggressor. And when it came to Holly Holm, she kind of broke her down. And like my guy Miles said, we talked about it. He said the problem with Ronda Rousey is that everybody figured out the blueprint. You want to beat Ronda Rousey? All you have to do is jab. And that's basically what happened because Ronda Rousey doesn't defend herself because she never really had to. She was always the dominator. She came out aggressive. She just destroyed people. And boom, that would be that. Ronda Rousey tried to do what she usually did. Got jabbed up. Got knocked out. It is what it is. And I don't see how you can sell Ronda Rousey anymore at this point. I think Ronda Rousey's stock has plummeted. Obviously, 2 losses in a row, being a big of a draw as you are, it hurts you. It's not just the average fighter losing 2 fights in a row. They can bounce back because, they're not in that position. Ronda Rousey is not only the biggest UFC fighter in the world, she is an A-list celebrity at this point. She had way more to lose than Amanda Nunes, who is the champion. And I said that from jump when the fight got announced. I was like, no way Ronda Rousey can come in this, not having a fight in 13 months, coming in against a monster like Amanda Nunes and being able to beat her. No, no way in hell that was going to happen. And I guess I was right, obviously, because you can't come do something in 13 months and just expect a W. And I know that people are gonna say, well, she trained that whole time, and that's fine. You can train as much as you please, but anybody who has ever played a sport knows that even in practice is much much different from doing the actual thing. Any basketball player tell you it's different from when you playing basketball with the guys, you're doing the little scrimmages or whatever, from actually being out on the court with a bunch of people watching you and actual opponents. And especially in a very wild, very hardcore environment like an MMA arena, it's much different from sparring with the guys doing simulation submission holds and whatnot to going into an environment where you got an actual opponent and people all around yelling to the top of their lungs. It's a very insane environment. You can't just jump right back into that. Point being, Ronda Rousey should have had a tune-up match. Ronda Rousey should have went against somebody who was honestly not on her level, even if that person had been there already and had been fighting. She should have went against a bum if the UFC was interested in keeping that draw. The only way you can sell Ronda Rousey to me at this point is you got to put on free TV. If Ronda Rousey has another fight, it cannot be on pay-per-view because nobody will buy it because the aura is dead. The aura is gone, and Ronda Rousey is done. So I think that's about the end of her. I think it's about the end of the women's divisions in UFC because none of those girls are going to be able to draw as much money as Ronda Rousey did. I think Ronda Rousey was a MMA unicorn, and when you get a unicorn, you gotta keep it going, and the magic has died out. It's done. She's done. Period. Anyways, to get into another topic. Okay, so we opened up 2017 with a few ridiculous events. Somebody replaced the Hollywood logo with Hollyweed, I guess. They just put two E's. They removed the O's and put up two E's. I'm actually impressed with the way they did this. I don't know how they did it. I don't know who did it, and I don't know how they got away with it. But whoever did this still hasn't been caught. And I kind of want them to get caught, not because they broke the law or whatever, but because I want to know how they did it, to be honest, and how they got away with it. So hopefully one of these days they'll release the story. I'm pretty sure it won't happen anytime soon because if they do, they going down for quite some time. But anyways, that's how we opened up the year. Then after that, later that day, Orlando Brown, who is like the best person on the internet at the moment, leaked his own sex tape. I can't make this up. It was disgusting. The guy was doing too much. You can go look that one up on your own. It's all over Twitter. It's all over Instagram. Go check that out. It's hilarious. And the topic I want to delve into the most is today, which I didn't even expect to talk about, is this Soulja Boy versus Chris Brown beef. Okay, so I have no interest in Chris Brown. I have no interest in Soulja Boy. I could care less about either guy. But if you know me, you know I am a sucker for a good rap hip hop beef. It's the best thing in the world to me. So, anyways, we get into this. I'm like, oh, Soulja Boy again. People been doing Soulja Boy challenges because he talked about shooting somebody. It's been pretty funny. But I'm like, Soulja Boy has found his way into the news again, feuding with Chris Brown. So I watched the video, and Soulja Boy, he talking on the video, he talking about how Chris Brown called him and said he was gonna knock him out because he liked some pictures on Instagram of some girl named Karuchi. I had no idea who Karuchi is. Had to do my research. I looked up. Apparently, Karuchi is an actress and a model. And I looked up. I was like, well, she must not be that popular. I looked at her Instagram. She got 6 million followers. So I was like, okay, that's just me living under a rock. But anyways, we get into this. And Chris Brown make a response video talking about how Soulja Boy is living in Sean Kingston's mother's house. and they just exposing each other. Soulja Boy made another video about how Chris Brown snorts cocaine and how he dealing with all these guys who don't care about him. And the thing that interested me the most about this was the cocaine thing. I can vividly picture Chris Brown snorting cocaine. And now he was saying he was doing it in front of his daughter and all this. I don't really bow. I don't think he that much of a scumbag to do cocaine in front of his daughter. But I can vividly see Chris Brown doing cocaine. Now, the thing with Chris Brown is this guy at one point was on top of the world, had the world around his finger. He could do no wrong. He was a young guy, a talented guy, made pretty good music. Not music for me, but people liked him. All the women loved him. All the dudes wanted to be like him. And after the Rihanna thing, it really killed him. I mean, this guy has all the it factors. This guy has all the talent to do whatever he really wants to. And by this time, you think Chris Brown would be like the guy for this generation of musicians, but he's not. Much like I don't know, like I wouldn't. I'm gonna just use this as an example because Chris Brown didn't murder Rihanna, obviously, but like, who ever talks about O.J. Simpson being a great college athlete? Nobody. It's all about, oh, he was beating his wife, oh, he killed his wife, blah, blah, blah. Who talks about Chris Benoit being a great pro wrestler? It's all, oh, he killed his wife, he killed his son, whatever. So after the Rihanna thing, Chris Brown got basically negated to the lowest common denominator of himself, that being woman beater. You're not a great singer, you're not a great dancer, you're not a great musician, woman beater. That's it. But I felt like even though he did that, Chris Brown somehow finally made his way back into the world of entertainment without people not bringing it up at all, but bringing it up a lot less. People started concentrating on his music more, and I really congratulated for him because he figured it out. I don't know how, but he did. He made it through it, and now Soulja Boy bringing it back up and stuff. And he actually said in Chris Brown in one of his videos, Soulja Boy, in the response, he said, "Oh, what you gonna do? Bring up the Rihanna thing? I was 17. I'm 27 now." One, I didn't know that was 10 years ago. I never peeped that until he said it. I was like, wow, he was that young when he did that. So that was interesting to me. But then again, this is where Chris Brown falls off of me. Oh, I was 17. That does not excuse domestic violence whatsoever. So I'm interested to see how this thing unfolds. I really do think Chris Brown might lose to Soulja Boy right now because it seems like Soulja Boy is very confident in the evidence he has against Chris Brown, which is hilarious to me that I'm actually saying Soulja Boy could actually win at something. But I'm interested to see how all of this unfolds. It's very hilarious from what I'm seeing. It's all over Facebook, all over both of their Instagrams. They uploading as I speak right now, just back and forth with each other, and it's funny. People, go check it out right now. It's hilarious. You can't miss this. But I think that's about it. Follow me on everything at Y2J. I need to change that name before Y2J sues me. And I'm out. I hope you enjoyed the first edition of the Big Man Podcast.